Namaskar, Vanakkam. Are you ready for yet another test paper video? अगर आपने ये वाला chapter 9 of social science first textbook from the rulers to the rule types of governments already समझ लिया है, there are two explanation videos done both in Hindi and English separately. So जो भी जिस भी भाषा में आप ज्यादा comfortable हैं, please listen to it and then come here to attempt this test paper video, which is of 50 marks. Okay, so let's get started first with the multiple choice questions for 10 marks. See, if you see the questions now, you will find them very interesting. Slightly different kind of questions I have given. And if any teachers are watching this, I would suggest that you try to make the student more interested in the MCQ with these kind of questions. In the country of Lumeria, there is no country called Lumeria. It's an imaginary country, right? Citizens vote on every major law through nationwide mobile-based ballots. Okay, there is no parliament and decisions are made entirely by the people. What form of government does Lumeria follow? Okay, so this is the question. So when you give these kind of questions, it makes the student think before answering. Okay, these are not straight lollipop questions. Representative democracy, direct democracy, constitutional monarchy, or is it an oligarchy? So you need to think each one of them and apply it here to see which one does the country of Lumeria follow. So you see the thing that they do vote. They do vote. So is it a constitutional monarchy? Is it a direct democracy? Is it an oligarchy? Or is it representative democracy? The correct answer is answer B, direct democracy, because direct democracy allows citizens themselves to directly vote on laws. It's a direct where citizens are voting on a specific law. The second question, the kingdom of Arvanta is ruled by King Ryan III. He controls the army, makes laws and cannot be questioned by any court or any assembly. Which system is this? Constitutional monarchy, absolute monarchy, theocracy, or is it dictatorship? So you would most likely get confused between B and D. But sometimes some of you may think, oh, king ki baat hai, so it can even be constitutional monarchy. So the correct answer to this is question answer B, where absolute monarchs hold complete control, because that's what this particular king is doing. He's having complete control and nobody can question him on anything without constitutional limit. So therefore it is not a constitutional monarchy. Third question, in the Republic of Norfolk, the president is elected by the people separately from the legislature. He continues in office even if the parliament disagrees with him. Which democratic system is this? Okay, I hope it is making you think, right? The president is elected by the people. Okay, so it is a presidential form of government separately from the legislature. So parliamentary democracy, presidential democracy. What are the other two options? Direct democracy, or is it a theocracy? Obviously, it is not a theocracy. Is it a direct democracy? No, but you have a president. So obviously, it means that the answer is B. In a presidential system, the executive is independent of the legislature. That a legislature is being elected, but the president is the one who is taking all the important and major decisions. In the state of Viridia, elections are held every 5 years, but only 5 wealthy industrial families decide who will contest from all major parties, right? So here it is a question of some influential families जो कि decide करते हैं कि देश को कौन actual में चलाएगा. This situation represents constitutional monarchy. There is no kingdom here, so it cannot be A, oligarchy, republic, or direct democracy. So the correct option is option B, oligarchy, where when a small influential group holds the actual power. You know, if a small group, there is a cartoon illustration which is there in your textbook. If you have a look at it, you will understand. Otherwise, you look at my explanation video. Question number 5. The country of Rahmani follows strict religious rules. Every new law must be approved by a council of religious scholars, even though citizens elect a parliament. This is an example of hybrid theocracy, republic, parliamentary democracy, or absolute monarchy. You know, when it is a religious thing, what essentially does it follow? It follows theocracy, but here it is a mix, so therefore it is a hybrid. Hybrid means जब थोड़ा सा दो different forms kind of get mixed up. Therefore, it is called a hybrid. Like, for example, you have hybrid vehicles where you can use it for EV. You can also use either petrol or diesel. So it's called a hybrid vehicle. Similarly, this is a hybrid form of theocracy. A hybrid theocracy mixes religious control with elected institutions. A village council in 950 CE, Mandapura, uses secret ballot pots, sets eligibility rules like minimum land ownership, and allows removal of members for misconduct. Okay, so this is a situation. So, what does this resemble? Does it resemble a dictatorship, early republican governance, oligarchy, or theocracy? This is pretty easy. This is option B. The Uttara Merur like inscription shows structured elections similar to early republics. I've explained this in detail in the explanation video. In Caprionia, the legislature passes a law that the executive considers unfair. So यहाँ पर legislature passes a particular law, लेकिन जो executive है, जो I mean actual the prime minister, president जो भी हैं, they find it unfair. The judiciary later on declares the law unconstitutional. Which democratic principle is operating here? Divine authority? No. Separation of powers, hereditary succession, centralized of power. This is option B, separation of powers. Separation of powers ensures each organ checks the other. Where the judiciary keeps a check on what the legislature does, the executive will also have an opinion on what the legislature does. The legislature can take an opinion on what the judiciary decides. So there is a checks and balances and separation of powers. We have done that also in the explanation video of the next chapter. The ruler of Krantos removes opposition parties, controls the media, commands the army directly, and stays in power for decades without elections. Okay, so this is a complete kind of a monarchy. This is parliament democracy, dictatorship, republican, or constitutional monarchy. So it is a case of dictatorship. It's not monarchy because he's not allowing any other things. He's almost like a dictator. He is deciding what will happen in that country. Dictatorship concentrates unchecked power in one leader. A student council election allows each class to choose one representative. Later, the principal checks if the council is working within school rules and can remove members if needed. This reflects oligarchy? No. Accountability in democracy? Yes. Hereditary rule, direct rule by authority? The correct answer is option B. Accountability means representative must answer to a supervising authority. See, the way I've written the explanation points, it will help you revise each one of your concepts from the chapter also. The last one, the 10th question is, in the nation of Vostan, the king performs cultural ceremonies while all the laws are made by an elected parliament and a prime minister runs the government. This system is called absolute monarchy, constitutional monarchy. This is like Britain, right? Dictatorship, theocracy. So the correct option is option B, constitutional monarchy, where the monarch is ceremonial while the elected bodies govern. Like you have King Charles, but essentially it is the prime minister of Britain who runs the country. Let's now look at 5 definitions, 1 mark each. Now, since it's a 1 mark question, you need not give an example, but if it is a 2 mark question, you should always give an example also. Define government. A government is an organization responsible for creating laws. इसमें इस बात का ध्यान रखिएगा that you need to write it in extremely formal kind of language. Implementing them and ensuring people's welfare, peace, and security. It manages relationships within the country and with other nations or other countries. The second one, define direct democracy. Direct democracy is a system where citizens themselves participate in making laws and decisions, as seen in Switzerland through frequent referendums. So here I've given an example also. Okay. Define representative. A representative is a person elected, like you have an MLA or an MP, to act and make decisions on their behalf, similar to student representative like you have in your school, which has been cited in the chapter also for the school committee. Define constitutional monarchy. A constitutional monarchy is a system where a king or queen is a ceremonial head. What I just now told you about Britain, where King Charles is the ceremonial monarch, the king, but the actual power is with the prime minister and his council of ministers who are elected by the people of Britain, while great real power is exercised by elected bodies as in the United Kingdom. Define oligarchy. Oligarchy is a system where power rests with a small, influential group of people, often wealthy families or businessmen or elites, even if elections do exist. So definitions जो भी हो उस पर ध्यान दीजिए because you can get it as a 1 mark or a 2 mark question. If this was a 2 mark question, you should also give an example of a country where oligarchy is prevalent. Section C, fill in the blanks for 5 marks. Democracy is described as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. In a representative democracy, citizens elect their leaders through universal adult franchise. In a constitutional monarchy, real power lies with the who does it the real power. The real power lies with the legislature or parliament kind of a thing, the elected representative, the usually the prime minister, or you can say the government. Okay. A government ruled by religious leaders according to religious laws is called theocracy. The principle that ensures the legislature, executive, and judiciary work independently is known as, I just now told you, separation of powers. Now let's look at the long answer questions of 3 marks each. There are 10 questions that I have prepared for you. Why is democracy considered rule of the people? Explain using the school committee example. Now this is an important question that can even come in your exam. Now democracy is called the rule of the people because the ultimate authority lies with the citizens, because the citizens are the ones who are voting. They are the ones who are deciding that I don't like candidate A, I don't like candidate B, but I like candidate C, so I will vote for him. So if more people choose candidate C, he will get elected, right? Who choose their representative. The school example shows that instead of the head teacher selecting students, instead of the teacher selecting that, oh, I like candidate B, so even if more students are liking candidate C, if the teacher chooses candidate B, it will lead to dissatisfaction. So होता ये है कि democracy where elections are held is always the best way to decide. Shows that instead of the head teacher selecting students, which would be non-democratic, students elected peers from each grade to represent their needs. This ensured fairness, participation, and accountability, which are basic democratic values. Similarly, in a country, representatives govern on behalf of the people who elect them. So, if I elect an MP from my constituency or an MLA or a corporator, he or she represents me in the Lok Sabha or the assembly or the municipal corporation. Okay. What are the 3 main functions of the government? Explain with examples. So the first one is legislature, executive, and judiciary, right? You need to mention that. So then you say legislative involves making laws. Legislative, LL. Legislators are also called lawmakers. So they make the laws. For instance, parliament drafts rules about education or health. The executive implements the laws which have been made by the legislature, such as ensuring midday meals. So अगर पार्लियामेंट ने डिसाइड किया कि सभी स्टेट्स में मिड डे मील स्कीम को लागू किया जाएगा, so the government, the executive will it is its responsibility to ensure that this particular thing is done in every state. Or building roads, the judiciary resolves disputes. But if you decide, if some school is not getting it, so I can go to court and the judiciary will say that no, you said you have passed such a law, so according to this law you need to do it, so why are you not doing it? So it can pass an order. That is what is called the separation of powers, where each particular organ has its own role to play. Resolves disputes and ensures laws are followed, protecting citizens' rights. These functions keep a country organized and stable. These are 3 mark answers. Describe any 3 fundamental principles of democracy. The first principle is equality. It ensures that every citizen is treated the same. There is no difference as per the Constitution of India between you and the Prime Minister of India. You are both equal in front of the Constitution. So that is the principle of equality, right? And you both receive equal access to education and health. Freedom allows people to express opinions. You are free to express your opinions. A minister is also free to express his or her opinion. Follow any belief. You can follow any religion, be it Islam or Hinduism or Christianity or Sikhism. Any religion you can follow and make choices. Representative participation means citizens elect leaders through universal adult franchise, that is above the age of 18. India granted this from 1950. I mean, not the age of it. Earlier it was 21, then it was brought down to 18. But everybody had the right to vote. These principles guide democratic functioning worldwide. So it's not like, you are a woman, you cannot get a right to vote. That was never done in India. So India was that way very progressive. What are the key differences between parliamentary and presidential democracies? This is again an important question. In parliamentary systems like India, the executive forms part of the legislature and the prime minister must retain the Lok Sabha's confidence. Otherwise, if a no confidence motion is passed, the prime minister has to resign. In presidential system like the USA, where the president is elected directly by the people. Here, the president is elected indirectly by the people, separately elected and independent of the legislature. That's the case in a presidential form of democracy. So parliamentary systems blend executive and legislature, whereas in presidential, they maintain strict separation of powers. The executive of the president is separate, and the legislature, as in the Congress and the Senate, is separate in USA. The fifth question, why is an independent judiciary essential in a democracy? कि एक डेमोक्रेसी में एक जो न्यायपालिका का जो पूरा सिस्टम है उसका इंडिपेंडेंट होना, स्वतंत्र होना जरूरी क्यों है? क्योंकि एन इंडिपेंडेंट जुडिशरी प्रोटेक्ट्स फंडामेंटल राइट्स, कि अगर मेरे किसी हक का उल्लंघन किया जा रहा है सरकार द्वारा या किसी और व्यक्ति द्वारा, तो मैं न्यायपालिका में जाकर अपने याचिका डाल सकता हूं कि मेरे खिलाफ ये अन्याय किया जा रहा है. So an independent judiciary protects fundamental rights, ensuring equality and freedom are upheld. It prevents misuse of power by the executive and legislature or anyone else, and ensuring all actions follow the Constitution of India. It also settles disputes impartially, giving citizens confidence that justice is accessible, that everybody will get justice. It may be slow, but you will get it. Not controlled by the government. The government cannot say, because many decisions of the court go against the government, which means that the government is not controlling what the High Court or the Supreme Court or any of the courts are saying. Describe the main features of an absolute monarchy and give an example. In an absolute monarchy, the king or queen holds total authority over lawmaking. Absolute monarchy is different from constitutional monarchy. You can get a question like that also. Make the difference, cite the differences between the two. Administration and punishment without constitutional limits. There is no separation of powers. Saudi Arabia is an example where the king governs according to Islamic law and is not bound by legislature. Power is usually hereditary. Seventh question. How does a constitutional monarchy differ from an absolute monarchy? What I just now told you, this is an important question. इसके आने के काफी chances हैं. In constitutional monarchies like the UK, the monarch, that is King Charles right now, before him his mother Queen Elizabeth II, the monarch has symbolic power but cannot make laws. Elected bodies such as parliament govern. In absolute monarchies, the king holds full control over all decisions, what we just now discussed. Constitutional monarchies follow a written framework limiting royal authority, whereas absolute monarchies do not have any such restrictions on the monarch. What is dictatorship? Describe its impact using the examples of Adolf Hitler and Idi Amin. A dictatorship centralizes power in one person or group without constitutional checks. Adolf Hitler eliminated opposition after he was elected to the office of Chancellor and President in 1933. And he stayed so till 1945 when the World War ended and he killed himself. Controlled courts and armies, suppressed freedoms, and played an important role in causing the Second World War. Idi Amin, who was in Uganda in Africa, used fear, violence, and forced people, including Indians, to flee. Dictatorship results in human rights violation and lack of freedom, not freedoms, freedom. Explain oligarchy with an example from the chapter. Now, this is again, I've tried to cover all the important aspects so that any question comes, yahan se bahar nahi aayega. These are all the most expected questions you will get. Oligarchy means rule by a small, powerful group, often wealthy families or elites. A cartoon in 1889, because they have said refer to your textbook, so which is why I'm referring to this, showed wealthy business interests influencing elected representatives in the USA, what I just now referred to, suggesting that even democracies can slide into oligarchy if few people gain excessive control. यानी कि सारी power कुछ ही लोगों के हाथ में होगी, so they will control everything, even though उनको इलेक्ट नहीं किया गया है, सो बिना इलेक्शन के वो पूरे देश की गतिविधियों को कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं, राइट? इट हाईलाइट्स द नीड फॉर चेक्स एंड public vigilance, that they may take decisions which may go against the public good and public welfare. Why does democracy matter? Give 3 reasons. Now this is again an important question. Democracy protects, first point is that it protects fundamental rights and such as freedom of speech, that each one of us has the right to say what we want to say without having any fear, equality and choice, so that citizens can live freely unless you are harming, you're not going to be allowed to murder anyone else, right? It ensures accountability through elections, allowing people to replace non-performing government. So if the government is not performing, मैं अगले इलेक्शन में उसके खिलाफ वोट करूंगा तो दूसरी पार्टी की सरकार बनेगी. It values the well-being and prosperity of all citizens, unlike monarchies or dictatorships where power may benefit only a few people. In the case of dictatorships or in the case of absolute monarchies, not constitutional monarchies, absolute monarchies, right? With this, we come to the end of this 50 marks most expected questions test paper that I have prepared. I hope आपको रिवीजन हो गई, आपकी रिवीजन हो गई, आपको अपने आप को टेस्ट करने का भी मौका मिला, and you will be better prepared as far as this particular chapter is concerned. I'll be doing each and every chapter in detail through test paper videos like this. Okay, so that your revision and preparation is absolutely 100%. Tata, bye bye. Thank you very much. Share the video, hype the video, and subscribe to CBSE with Sudhir.